we really need to do that. And then you've got people that like can snatch like 70% of their back squat or clean and jerk like 90. Yeah, like I'm kind of like that too.
Yeah.
Like I think that right now, if I had to max out my back squat, my clean and jerk would probably be about 90% of that. Like my current clean and jerk that I just did a couple days ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just because I'm a weak shit. So that's like, you know, people are like, oh man, I wish I could clean and jerk that much compared to my squat. I'm like, no, the fuck you don't.
No,
dude.
you shouldn't. You really shouldn't.
But also, like, I understand it's frustrating if you can squat 200 and you can't snatch 70 or whatever.
I think that's a good indicator just from a basic level of not knowing, because if you can't squat it, or, you know, that you really have no business of putting something over your head if you're not, you know, vice versa. If you're putting more over your head than your squat, or, you know, you're almost to 100%.
Yeah.
For a beginner or someone that's starting a program, you either your squat, there's something wrong with your squat, or you really have no business putting it over your head if you can't physically back squat it.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a good way to kind of branch it and think about it from a base outside perspective.
Yeah, exactly. So with a technique driven, or a technique, you know, oriented program, well, really quick as to what you said about like me coming up with like a 16-week program for you. I don't do that for everybody.
Okay.
Like I don't do it for most people.
Yeah.
Like Wes, one of the guys that I do remote programming for, which he comes to the gym when he can, but he asked me, because he just started like the first week of his new program after we went to Masters Nationals a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "Oh, is this a 12-week program or what?" And I'm like, "Well, it's at least 8."
Yeah.
You know, but past that, it doesn't matter. You know, like we can do like the ideas I have for you. It needs to be 8. But we can make it 30. We can make it 9. We can make it like whatever, you know, but, so yeah, I have like at least, you know, I expect it to last. When I start writing a program for someone, I expect it to last at least 8 weeks.
Yeah.
If it needs to be less or it needs to be more, it's going to be competition based. Like, is there a meet you already signed up for? Is there a meet we're working towards? Is there a qualifying total we have to hit by a certain date? And that's when it's going to start getting like, because other than that, like 12-week cycle, 16-week cycle, like this shit doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, like you're just get better at weightlifting today.
Right.
You know, and then past that.
And I think for individualizing, having a goal or knowing what everyone's objective, like what they want to achieve, is also kind of helps you decide one way or another. And if it is a meet, then, you know, you just overall want to be stronger and have better technique.
Right.
If someone just wants to do one thing or another, then it kind of helps you program or know if you have a longer time frame or a shorter time frame and what have you. So.
Well, and that's a good point too. So if it's somebody who is technically pretty good and their strength is okay, then we basically just alternate.
Right.
You know, we go back and forth, which is what we're doing for you right now.
Yep.
We're putting like a bigger emphasis on strength, or we have, you know, basically since the American Open, that's pretty much all you've done.
Right.
Except for like, we did like 3 weeks of like traditional just so you didn't forget what a snatch was.
Yes. And it took about 3 weeks to remember.
Yeah. But then, Jesus. It's those damn kind bars. Yeah, thank you. But yeah, so we've been back on like strength. It basically just gave you like a little taste of that, so it didn't feel like you weren't snatching or clean and jerking at all.
Right.
And then we went straight back into another strength phase. But, you know, like I said a few minutes ago, that's almost over now.
Yeah.
So yeah, for most people, it'll kind of alternate. But it's like, okay, right now, do you technically suck or are you weak? And which one is a bigger deal? And time frame, which one do we need to get better fastest? Generally, adults that start weightlifting are a lot stronger than they are good, which can be tough. You know, that's the harder option, because with strength, it's like you just do it and it will work. You don't even have to be smart about it, and you'll probably get stronger.
Right.
But, you know, technique takes obviously a lot more detail. So for a technique-driven program, my approach is, like, what do you suck at? And then what can I think of that would make you not suck at that? That's it. You know, like, that's all it has to be. You know, like, are you swinging the bar out away from you on a snatch? Like, it's looping around. Okay, is it looping around you because you're rushing the finish of the pull and you're humping the bar, or you're getting your shoulders back too far and you can't stay over it. Okay, well then we need to get your back stronger so that you're able to stay over it. Then we need to do like drills that make you stay over the bar, or block snatches or whatever. Or is it looping around you because you don't know how to use your arms, because every single CrossFit video in the world says never use your arms on a snatch. And then we're going to do like close grip snatches, or high pulls or whatever to like force you to, or muscle snatches, just something that's going to make you use your upper body. That's really all it takes is like, what do you suck at? And then be as creative or as simple as you want to. What little things can we do to make you not suck at that?
And now, do you have a hierarchy of what is more important? If someone, of course, I'd say flexibility might be one, or, depending on strength, or like you were saying, if it's, how do you break it down, or what would you say could possibly be like, okay, we need to knock this out first and work on this technique? Is it if it was a pull, or if it's, flexibility or things like that? And so,
yeah. Okay, so I guess my approach, and some people might agree, some people might not, but the way that I approach it is like positions are the most important thing. So do you have a good position, or do you have a bad position? And if you have a bad position, is it because you don't know how to do the good position, or is it because you're physically unable to do the good position?
Right.
So that obviously takes the top priority.
Okay.
If it's a positional thing, like, for instance, we have a couple people in here who started weightlifting and they're strong as shit. And they're missing 50 kilo snatches or whatever because they're technically bad. And they're technically bad because they don't have positions. For some people, it's a flexibility thing. For some people, it's just this is 50 kilos. It's laughably light to me. I don't have to pull it slow, so I'm not going to, kind of thing.
Right.
Whether that's a conscious
and muscle
decision
memory
or not.
too, you're right. So.
Right, yeah. So yeah, top priority is positions. And then if it's a flexibility thing, assigning flexibility work, I'm not that good at doing that. Like, there are some things that I have found that I'm like, okay, well, this is a problem a lot of people have. This seems to have helped most people. But a lot of times when people have like big flexibility issues, I'm not entirely sure where to send them. So I just pull out the Supple Leopard book, which I think people get a little too crazy with that stuff. But we'll just and what I tell people is like, all right, let's just flip through this and let's look at it together and pick something that you haven't tried yet, and let's see if it works.
Yeah.
And then again, if it's like a technical position thing, I just try to think of like, okay, well, this person is physically unable to touch their hips on a snatch. So they're not engaging their lats. They're not finishing their pull. I'll make them do like a tempo snatch pull from hang.
Okay.
1 second from the knees to the hips, pause at the hips, and then extend up, and then 2 seconds back down to power, so it's just like, light, and you're literally just running through the movements. Yeah. And then if that's good, then we'll progress to going like fast and with no pause at the hips or whatever. So yeah, there's that. And usually I like to do stuff like that as warm up, because you're not really getting much of a workout with that, but you need it.
Yeah.
And I don't think most people want to do a program 100% of stuff they need. Because if you need it, it means you suck at it. If you suck at it, it means it's not going to be fun. Right. And you're going to be horrible.
And that's why I have a coach.
Yeah.
Right there. Right there.
So yeah, there's that. If it's a strength-driven workout or a training program, I guess I get really... I think everybody kind of does this, that everything seems to kind of go in fads of like everyone's doing Texas method squats. Everyone's doing LSUS. You probably have no idea what I'm saying right now.
Got
okay. But yeah, it seems like just on the internet, that kind of stuff runs in fads of just like what everyone's talking about, this squat program or this strength phase or whatever. But I think a lot of strength training for most people is kind of trial and error. Like some people do really, really well with work to a 10 rep max. And then some people can't do that. And so like they either don't do enough and they end up doing like 6 sets of 10. And they're like, well, my last one was this. So because that my 10 rep max? I'm like, well, fuck no. Because you just did 6 sets of 10 within 8 kilos of each other. Like, and then some people just try to go way too hard and they actually can't do it. So but not everybody. Some people are like I think I do well with working up to a perceived max because I'm usually, or I guess I've been doing it long enough, I'm pretty realistic with it. Or at least I know about what I could do on any given day. So some people like to do that, or some people respond the best to that. Some people respond way better if I just tell them exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Like for you, what I feel like I have found has worked really well is to tell you, work up to a heavy set of 5. Your goal is 67 or whatever.
Yep.
And then you always go a kilo or 2 over what I tell you the goal is.
Yeah, usually. I'm like, well, he said this, so.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because there was one thing, I don't remember exactly what it was, but like just say what I wanted you to do was 65.
Yeah.
And I almost put like goal 65, and I was like, well, fuck, no, if I tell her that, she'll probably try to do more. So I put goal 63, and sure enough, you did 65. Yeah.
Especially if it's ever an odd number, I always go up to like a 5 or a 0. You know, I always go up to a 5 or a 10, and just knowing. And I think that, of course, you doing programming, for you, it's easy. I think what is difficult is reading individuals, and I think it's, you know, that's kind of the untaught. You know, you can look at a program and look at a cycle, but I think it's like knowing who an athlete is, or what they're motivated by, or if they just don't do well with working up, you know, if it's too much
they can't go heavy.
Yeah,
like they're too scared to go heavy. So it's like, we just have to brush that threshold as often as we can.
And so I think that's kind of the like untaught coaching aspect that, you know, makes it difficult to program for someone, is, you know, knowing who someone is and being able to like sit back without emotion and kind of like look at it objectively and be like, okay, they are bad at this, regardless, one way or another. They are bad at this, they are good at this, and this is what they need. Right. And I think it's easier said than done to, you know, look at someone from a coach's point of view.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, and I think it takes like empathy, and also like you got to be open-minded to knowing that what your plan is might not really work,
right?
You know, so like just because you put 8 people through this LSUS thing doesn't mean that the 9th person is going to respond well to it. They might get worse. Yeah. Like, you know, like who the fuck knows? So I think that's like a lot of what it is which is actually like a bullet point I put about this, is note taking and communication. Like what we use in the gym, because like I've said on previous episodes, I do individual programming for a shit ton of people. So usually on like 4 or 5 hours on a Sunday, that's all I do, is just the programming for the week. So I update it week to week, which, you know, I don't really like the idea of giving someone 4 weeks of programming at once or whatever. So, cause it's like, who knows what's going to happen across those 4 weeks. And so like these ideal progressions or rest weeks or whatever might not be the best timed things in application. But anyway, so I do week to week programming with people, and, we use an app called Evernote, which is like every smartphone, every computer, which is awesome because I have 2 computers and my phone, and the Evernote syncs between all 3 of them. So if I update anything on one of them, it'll update on all of them. And so I have like, for every single person I program for, I have a different notebook. And a notebook, you know, you make a page, and every work week is a page, you know, and I have like a numbering system I do for like what cycle, what phase, what week, you know, whatever. So it's like you open up your notebook, and it's very easy to just see like where you should be, and you can share it with people. So it's like every individual person in the gym that I do programming for, I share their notebook with them, and they can edit it.
And essentially, it's like Google Docs, you know, where you can share
it
with
just never used that.
But the Evernote is very similar to a Google Doc, where you can set up an individual document or a notebook, you know, interchangeably, and then you can share it to me privately, and then we are both the only ones that look at that. And if I update it on my phone, it then syncs to your devices, and it's similar to, it's the exact same way Google Documents work. So
yeah, well, and that's like I think I am really glad that we do it that way now, which I pay for it. Like I pay $2.99 a month for like however much memory, because it's like it just started filling up, like whatever you get for free. But I don't, like, no one, even people that I've been using it with, like for you've been on it since I started using it, like because I've been programming for you for that longer than that. So even like anybody else, I don't think anybody else has hit that point where it's like you got to pay for it, and you've got like over a year's worth of workouts in there, like, you know, of training logs. So that's cool, because I mean, I still like to write mine down physically. It's just like it's fun to me to just have actual notebooks of